French left celebrates as far right faces surprise defeat. Is it really a surprise though? Is it a surprise? A bunch of oily, smug, woke lefties backed up by all of the sneaky, woke, devious, Teutonic megalomaniacs at the Who and slithering around the back rooms in Brussels. Is it really a surprise? In fact, with all of the devious manipulations that we've seen from the far left in the last few years, the authoritarian power-mad sociopaths that run institutions like the EU, I'd say this is about as surprising as your average French husband being caught conker deep in a teenage prosy at his local rub and tug shop. France's far-right National Rally was widely expected to win this snap election, but instead they were beaten into third place. A left-wing alliance called the New Popular Front won the most seats after a highly charged and abbreviated election called only 4 weeks ago by a weakened President Emmanuel Macron. National Rally won the first round of the election and all the opinion polls predicted a victory in the runoff round. Instead, France faces a hung parliament with no party having anything like a majority. RN leader Jordan Bardella blamed unnatural political alliances for stopping their rise to power. Yeah, these slippery snakes rigging the election for their own nefarious ends is the least unnatural thing about them. These are the type of people who think gallivanting past the local primary school with a vase sticking out of your hoop is perfectly normal. They specialise in unnatural, Mr. Bardella. Just tell it straight. And look at the breakdown of seats. Can you believe that? Imagine 40% of the country all voting for the right in the first round of the elections. And at the end of the process, you're lumbered with a commie Prime Minister. It's about as unfair as Chris Kyle challenging Stevie Wonder to a shooting contest. And Stevie's got to wear boxing gloves. And look at this analysis by Hugh Schofield. French people reject the far right. Again. How is the vast majority of the voters in the first round of the election picking the very far right candidates? How is that France rejecting the far right? They specifically voted for them. Think about what you're writing, Hugh. What you're going to tell me next? Diane Abbott rejects Greg's sausage rolls. We just look at her. We know what's going on and we know what's getting rejected. They cheated. Can we just say it outright? They cheated. If the party that gets the most votes is third because hundreds of candidates drop out in order to do some devious backroom dealing to cheat the most popular party out of power, that's cheating. If the roles were reversed and the commies came first in the first round of voting, but at the culmination of the election, they were in third position and they had a far-right Prime Minister, the EU would probably, march troops into Paris, goose-step through the streets, melt the Eiffel Tower down and turn it into tanks. It's the most obvious bit of cheating I've ever seen. Jordan Bardella knows the score. National Rally leader Jordan Bardella, who'd been hoping to be France's next Prime Minister, criticised what he calls the unnatural and dishonourable alliance that has deprived the French people of an RN victory. Comes after the left-wing bloc won the most votes in the second round of France's election after widespread tactical voting. Tonight, these electoral arrangements have thrown France into Jean-Luc Mélenchon's extreme left, he says. Yeah, and as you might expect from the lying commie BBC, pedo-shielding collection of nonces that inhabit that infernal building, it wasn't tactical voting. It wasn't tactical voting because they just outright removed the candidates from hundreds of seats. They were gone. There was no tactics required by the voters. There was nobody else to vote for. That's not tactical voting. That's cheating. All right? Easy. So, what's the offshot of this going to be? Well, the French are going to end up with more of the same. More of the same. And it's going to be worse than it was last month. Because the socialists have threw out some truly batty ideas, including, get this one, from Bloomberg, France leftists' plans include a 90% top marginal income tax rate. And El Financiero called it guillotine for the rich in France. Left-wing coalition proposes 90% income tax rate, with the current maximum being only 45% on income over €177,000. Only 45%. Eric Cockerell provided the figure in an interview on C News television, saying the new Popular Front proposal would be approved by French courts and would not be considered confiscatory because it would only impact the highest portion of a taxpayer's income. Think of that. And 177,000, you're not that rich, are you? This is what the socialists always get wrong. I know lads who make that much money. If you're scraping into about 200 grand a year, yeah, you're doing really well. But you're not a millionaire, you're not a billionaire, you're paying massive amounts of tax. If you introduce this type of stuff, you just get mass capital flight. All the movers and shakers either move or wrap the tits in en masse. If I was making 180 grand a year in France and they brought this law in, I'd be like, I'm not, you know what, I'm going to be a bus driver. I'll be a janitor. Men are stubborn and we will not have it. It's been proved time and time and time again. Capital flight, the annihilation of the economy. That's what the frogs are going to get. It's a good job they eat, frogs, because you best take your spear down the canal and start catching your dinner, lads, because that's what you're going to have to be eating. The zoo in Paris will be empty in about a year's time. Them pandas they're trying to breed, say goodbye to them because someone's going to be eating them. Panda kebabs if you're lucky in Paris in 12 months' time. So yeah, we know what's going to happen. Socialists don't read books. They don't know anything. Every time it gets tried, the whole economy collapses and it all goes tits up. And that's what the frogs are going to get. So this is a difficult one for me as a conservative fella, isn't it? Because on one hand, I feel pity for the French who are now going to end up tanking their entire society and importing millions more pedos and sex pests. But on the other hand, it's happening to the French. So it's a tough one for me. Do I want it or do I not want it? I don't know. It's a difficult one. I'm so confused. I don't know whether to be over the moon or devastated. Who knows? I'll flip a coin. Heads, I'm disgusted. Tails, I'll split my sides laughing when Jean-Claude has to eat rat burgers outside some of the formerly best restaurants in the world. Happy days, lads. Enjoy yourselves. Anyway, that's just what I think. You think the socialists will definitely get it right this time, because they've tried it loads of times, but it's never real socialism when they try it. This time, they're definitely going to get it right, and everything's going to be amazing, and blokes will be more than happy to work their tits off just in order to give 90% of the money away to the state, who will then waste it or give it to stabby Iraqis. Yeah, brilliant. Anyway, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.